Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. On Apple, we recommend Apple Podcasts. On Android, we recommend Spotify. Also, check out the Five Reasons YouTube channel for all your depressing Miami Dolphins content. Also, Off the Floor, that's our Discord server. It's $2.99 per month. Link is right there in the description. Do be thankful you're Heat fans. The most Heat anywhere, the most Heat information or conversation. We tell you all the time, go to Off the Floor. 10 different channels plus the stage shows, and it pays for shows like this. So also check it out. It's Off the Floor. Also, this is appropriate for the Dolphins. If you have a car accident or you've just watched a Dolphin game, 305-800-PAIN, car accident, slip and fall, or anything else that you need help with, they will get you to the right attorney 24/7. And yes, they're based in Doral, so of course they're bilingual. They'll handle all of your needs right away. Again, check it out. The name is the brand. It's 305-800-PAIN. Manny, Danny, all the good people down there, they will help you out with whatever it is that you need. And now, today's episode.
Uh-oh. Yeah. It's Mercy. Music by Mercy again. Heat Nation, we the culture. Yo, E, I need you to call timeout. Need Brady to set the floor plan. Tropical blanket, open for the shot. Yo, Greg, set the pick. Still five on the floor, still ride for my dog. Still battle on the court, still survive in the war. Keep your eye on the ball, or get burned from the keep this mic off the wall without turning the cheek. From night to day, no sleepy paths or allowed to morning. The nut is sleeping us, never catch us on. Live from Miami, report in the heat with 5 Reasons Sports from the court to the streets. Yeah, Wake County, Heat Nation, we say it proudly.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the Five Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, we are within a week, so it's time for the old men to take over. Today's floor plan, I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at Five Reasons Sports.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I'm still on hold with 305-800-PAIN.
Yeah, make sure.
I want to talk about how I picked the Dolphins to be 11-6 to see if I'm due any sort of cash settlement or something.
You played Tua's more on Prize Picks using the code 5, but what you should have played the more was over 2.5 turnovers. We apologize for that. Go to 305-800-PAIN. And as I always say here, be thankful that you're Heat fans. And that's kind of what we're going to get into today. We've got Tim Reynolds. You can follow him, of course, at the Associated Press or by Tim Reynolds on Twitter. Let's start here. I mentioned this is a country for old men here on this podcast today. I had to go a little bit older than Greg on this. My first year covering the Heat was 96. So it coincided with Riley coming in, basically. He came in 95, and then I sort of became the backup covering the Heat when they were down at LaSalle right prior to him trading for Tim Hardaway. I told that story before. He promised he wasn't going to trade anybody, so I went on a date, and I just had a beeper, and then he traded 5 players for 5. What was yours? I never trusted Pat since 30 years ago. So Reynolds, what was your first year covering the Heat?
2003, my first night. So I would go, well, I'll back that up a little. When I got hired at the AP, got married in 01, moved down here. My wife was already down here working. So I got hired at the AP doing news, believe it or not. And so my shift for more than a year I was the overnight editor, like from 11 to 7, just like going through every website in the state and seeing what we missed and all that stuff, keeping track of basically just making sure nothing massively bad happened.
In Miami. In the
whole state. In the whole state.
In the state of Florida. Like something massively bad happens at every single second on the clock. But yes, okay.
One night I'm driving in for my shift and a plane actually, the office used to be in the Federal Reserve Bank in Doral, and a plane hit the building. And the building was so big that the AP office is at the other end, and we didn't know about it. Because it was like this massive building that they said something's burning in the kitchen. They didn't tell us it was a plane. But anyway, to fill the days, because I was working nights, to fill the days, I would go to Soul games, kind of like on my own time. And because, my wife was working, I had nothing to do. We were living on Brickell Key at the time. It was right there. I'd go to Soul games, and then an editor in New York said, he's not terrible at sports, and he's really kind of bad at news. Maybe we'll give him a shot. And my first quote unquote real Heat assignment was the 2003 draft.
Yes.
I misspelled Dwayne's name.
Well, actually, Dwaft is right. It was the Dwaft. That's right. Right.
So I misspelled Dwayne's name that night, and we're off and running.
Yeah, that one had to get programmed into my phone correctly. It took a little bit of time. There's been a lot of Heat players that over the years, and that's kind of what we're going to get to here before we pivot to a preview, who didn't spell their names the conventional way. Justice took me some time also, although not as much time as I expected when he was drafted, since he wasn't here as long as maybe some of us thought. But the Dwayne one has taken some time, and honestly, anybody named Dwayne autocorrects on my phone to DWY, which I guess is how that should go. I don't have to. Precious isn't going to autocorrect anymore, but that Dwayne does autocorrect. All right, but the reason you're here, other than among the reasons, is that you've written a book, and I want to start on the first half of this episode talking a little bit about that and kind of the context of this, and then we're going to pivot forward to where this season fits, because the thing that's nice about Heat history, and why some of us, and Ira's another one, obviously, who's been around longer than both of us, okay, since the very beginning, and Barry, of course, among those who's been around quite a long time, is that, like, you can compartmentalize things, and you can it's linear in some ways, because it's the same people running everything for the most part, and it's just some have gotten bigger roles over time, whether it's Spo or Adam Simon, etc. But it's virtually the same people, and so it makes it easier than, say, with the Dolphins, where it's just like, okay, they're fucked. Like, that's it. Like, whatever the regime is, they're gonna be starting over with new people. With the Heat, it's kind of like, well, they've done this before, and you can point back to this year or this year or this year, and this is where they are in their build as compared to those other times, and that's kind of what I want to get into. As we get to the break here. But let's talk about the book, the thought process behind the book, and also kind of what you learned in writing it.
So the thought process behind it's really funny. I mean, it was basically 12 months ago this week. I got contacted by a publisher in St. Louis that said, hey, we do these books, and we haven't done much in the sports or in the NBA world. Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe had just done one coming off the Celtics championship, and it did well. And they're like, listen, these are illustrated timelines. It basically from day one till now, give us a couple hundred vignettes. We'll match it up with photos. Tell us the story of the team. And for me, when I first it was like a cold call. And I was blown away. I was flattered. Of course, I said, I'll jump in. I'll do it. I thought it would be easy because, I'm like you. I've been around for a long time. I didn't know as much as I thought I knew about the first 15 years. I mean, you really had to go back and dig, and even obviously with a book, you're fact checking everything. So you don't trust my own memory anymore from things from 2003, 2005, or 2024. In a lot of cases, you want to go back and check it all. But so the process was basically they just wanted what it is from the very beginning, from Ted Arrison's involvement to Ron Rothstein's hire to how they got the team. And I learned a lot about the first 15 years. I mean, we knew, 95 Pat comes and 88 Ron was there, and the first playoff run and the Road Warrior Heat and Jeff Van Gundy on Zoe's leg. Like you knew the top line, you knew the headline stuff. But it was fun to go back and really dig on how the Arison family got involved, how they nearly lost control of the team, how Mickey then decides to save it, the very unusual way that Pat and Mickey did not start off on the right foot. Mickey wanted to meet Pat right after he assumed control of the team. Dave Wall set up a meeting, I think, at a shoot-around. Pat was very serious about a shoot-around because they were playing the hated Heat that day, and he didn't want to be bothered meeting this guy. Who is this guy? And then 4 months later, Mickey's driving to the Keys and his bag phone rings, and hello, it's Pat Riley on the other end. And that's how the relationship started with those guys. And you sort of know the rest, but it was it was a really fun exercise to go back and dig into how they got to 2003, how they got to 2010, and in a lot of ways, how they got to where they are now.
And I think when you look at where they where they are now, again, there are these patterns, right, that happen over the course of time, and there's this belief in themselves. And I think this is, as we again look at where they are right now, I think this is where there's some disconnect, especially because of the way that the media story is told these days, which a lot of it is through social media. We're reacting to things we see from the fans, as opposed to in the old days, you wrote your AP story. I wrote for the Palm Beach Post twice, 2 different occasions, the Miami Herald, the Sun Sentinel, 2 different occasions, Bleacher Report, whatever it was. And I wrote my story, and then people reacted to the story. That's not what happens these days. It's constant. And now as I'm running these Sports Illustrated sites, we're reacting to all of this stuff all the time. And I think as a result of that, particularly because a lot of that fan base on Twitter, where I engage way too much, is younger. Wasn't really even around for the 06 championship in a lot of those cases. There isn't this trust in the organization to kind of figure things out as they have before. And they're also run differently than they were before. And I'm sure you probably, I mean, you know this from covering them, but you also probably discover this over time. Like you mentioned, Pat comes in and he's a force of nature. Like that is the way it is, right? This is the whole thing of, the imagine what they're going to become and the imagination and everything else. And then he comes in and then they lose to the Knicks, 3 out of 4 years, the last 3 times. Every single one of those series goes the max. We'll never see that again against a rival where there were so many subplots, whether it was Zoe and Larry Johnson or Sprewell and Hardaway or the Van Gundys or all that other kind of stuff that was going on. And to a certain degree, and I'm sure you discovered this too, like when you got through 2000, Pat's run was successful here because he made basketball matter, but he didn't get them over the threshold, right? And then Zoe gets sick. I remember being with Barry and 2000 at training camp at FAU. They built this really nice team. They brought in Eddie Jones. They brought in Brian Grant. And then where's Zoe? Oh, he failed the physical. And then you have to start over with the draft that you were in there for, the draft of Dwayne in 2003. And then it's a build from there.
That was unintentional. I just want everybody to know.
I know, but it's just built into. Well, what I remember from that draft was
instance of a list, but I don't believe it. But anyway,
no. Well, what I remember from that night specifically. And then I want to get back into this kind of idea of the trust issues that some of the fan base has with the team that the older fans don't necessarily have with the team. That night, I remember, because Dwayne was supposed to go 9th to Chicago, right? And it was supposed to be Kirk Heinrich or somebody else along those lines that was going to go. And of course, that was the Darko draft, where Darko was involved with that draft too. So there was all this focus on international players. And I just remember the Heat fans were happy about the pick simply because they knew who he was. They'd seen him play, and obviously Riley watched from a treadmill, or Stairmaster while he beat Kentucky and everything else that played. But that changed the franchise. And I remember that night. I remember Eddie Jones walking in and tossing a ball at Dwayne and saying, we got to get started and all that. And it changed everything. I'm just curious, as you go back through kind of, and again, you started in 2003, and I know you backfilled a lot of the stuff from before that. But were there things you learned from 2003 to 2006 specifically that surprised you? And I know you hit on some of this with Mateo Mayorga on the podcast you did with him, but as you were researching the book, things that surprised you as far as the build with Dwayne to that first championship.
So the story that I'd forgotten that I think is kind of an undertold deal is in 04, when it became evident that the Lakers were going to move Shaquille. Mm-hmm. And Jerry Buss had an idea, and he wanted to make a trade with the Miami Heat. I think we all forget the first trade he wanted to make. He wanted to trade for Pat. Mm-hmm. And I had forgotten that because, again, I was very young, and I wasn't even really full-time quote on it until Shaquille came. That first year, I was kind of like in and out. And you just get what you get thinking of are the moments that might have changed everything. Like what if they had drafted Chris Kaman? Mm-hmm. Taking the center, because Pat Riley and centers. Pat loves bigs. Pat, mm-hmm. Dwayne came in. Dwayne had, and this is known. I mean, this has been talked about a lot. I think Dwayne worked out for close to 25 teams. Dwayne worked out for everybody. His worst workout by far was the one in Miami.
Yep.
He had no legs. He was shot. He was terrible that day. And Pat shook his hand, as the story goes. Pat shook his hand after the workout and said, "Oh, okay, I get it now." And like something just clicked with Pat. And Pat, at that point, I guess, was somewhat the idea of drafting Dwayne Wade. Had anything gone differently? Oh, so many times throughout the years, like in 08.
Mm-hmm.
So last time they had a winless preseason, not to draw any parallels to today, but going into 2007, 08, of course, if they win the lottery, that
take
year,
Rose. They take Rose.
Rose, not Michael Beasley.
Mm-hmm.
But then the big three weirdly
doesn't happen. No,
so
it doesn't. And the other point to that, if you look at it, and the other point, if you look at 2008, there's so many what ifs over the years. If you look at 2008, if they trade down like Pat kind of wanted to, they probably end up with Brooke Lopez or somebody else along those lines. That changes the trajectory of it because he wasn't going to take Westbrook, who ended up going third. K Love, I know.
And then if they get Brooke there, then they eventually would have gotten Robin. Robin likes to beat up mascots. Bernie would have been injured. The Conor McGregor punch to Bernie never would have happened. We would have had anarchy.
It's a whole butterfly effect. Well, yeah. Well, K Love, I'm sure he's probably told you this too. He had a workout for Pat at Westwood, and he thought it went rather well. But he's like, I thought they were sold on Beasley. But you might have had K Love here playing with Dwayne. And then if you have K Love playing with Dwayne, that maybe changes the trajectory because as quickly as K Love, they would have been great together. And as quickly as that would have come together, maybe you don't make the move in 2010. Also, there's another what if. What if Lamar Odom takes the contract that they talked about between 2008 and 2010? Then they wouldn't have had the money. That was Lamar coming back. What if Zoe doesn't get sick? What if Bosch doesn't get sick? What if there's a million what ifs when it relates to LeBron. But so many of them over the years.
We didn't get into that specific night, but you know the story. And I hope I hope the viewers get literally on the night, like the calls were simultaneous on one phone in one office. The trade call is going on. We've acquired Goran Dragic. And in this office, the calls come in. Chris Bosh is sick and can't play basketball anymore. And the two happen simultaneously at 601 Boulevard, which is
crazy.
Absolutely crazy. And so many of those moments. But I know we'll get more into this, but you talked about why the older fan, like those of us perhaps in our age group, if you will, two things. One, they've seen 3 championships. And on a certain level, when you're like, okay, we've been through something like this, we're good. Yeah. I think every Heat fan of our age group and up made that deal with their God, saying, please just give us 1, and then 2, and then 3, and we'll never ask for anything again. And I think most people have sort of held true to that. And then you have this Gen X, Z, Twitter, whatever generation we're in, where those kids were like 7 when Ray hit the shot. Like they have not gotten to experience what their predecessors did. So there is a certain probably distrust. And I think too, it's not helped by the fact that most kids on Twitter think that Chris Greer has been with the Dolphins longer than Pat Riley has been with the Heat, even though it does feel that way at times.
It does, and again, there doesn't seem to be this understanding that like you could be them, and things could be a whole lot worse. And I'm not saying every decision recently has been the right decision, and we'll talk about that on the other side. But there is a certain. It's just funny to me because Spo is the perfect example of this. That in social media, like all it is criticizing Spo's decisions. Why he's not playing this guy, why he's not starting this one, why he does this, why he does this. But if anybody comes after Spo, the fan base like lashes out at that person, right? And then it's celebrating him being the Team USA coach. So it's kind of like we can do it, but you can't do it. And that's sort of where we're at with it. But yeah, so many of those what ifs. And I think, as the Bosch thing is crazy because I remember that day and I remember we were all chasing it. I'd heard rumors about it. I know Barry was chasing it. Others were chasing it. Something was wrong with Chris. I had heard that he was at the hospital. Couldn't figure out why. Meanwhile, the Dragic thing is happening. And it's just like they finally blew up the Zoe, MASH PJ team in 2000 and brought in this core around Zoe that was going to get him over the hump. And then, oh, wait a second, he's got this rare kidney disease. And he's not going to be out there. And then they end up winning. I think they were 42-27 when he came back, and it didn't end up working out. They lost to Charlotte, but they've had all these near misses. And this is what happens again when there's a linear narrative to talk about a team. They sometimes will move out of that straight space to somewhere else, but then it comes back, and you're like, okay, well, we've been here before, and now how do we move forward? So we're going to talk more about that on the other side of that. Before we do, one thing we want to talk about that's very important here is your money. Okay. So like if Tim wanted to send me money today, like what he would do is he would send it to me by Cash App, because it's just a suggestion. And if he did that, he's going to get money back. But first thing I want to tell you is why you get the Cash App card. So we're going to tell you how to download Cash App, but also built-in card security that keeps your money safe with the protection you expect when you get the Cash App card. Not only do you get access to a ton of perks and benefits like exclusive early access to nationwide concert pre-sales or discounts on popular brands, but you also have extra security with the power to instantly lock or unlock your card right from your phone in just one tap. If a suspicious transaction pops up on your card, Cash App has your back by automatically declining the purchase. That's right. Some of my co-hosts, I don't know what they're billing to me, and sending you a heads up to confirm if it's you or not. Stop it, Alex. Behind the scenes, you can rest assured knowing your account balance is protected by 24/7 fraud monitoring. Spend with peace of mind today and order a Cash App card in the app or cash.app/card. Also, for a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use the code SECURE10, like Tim Hardaway's number, SECURE10 in their profile at sign up, and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App Bank's partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank member FDIC. Discounts provided by Cash App, a blocking brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. And that read always takes me as long as it's taken the Dolphins to win another playoff game. So we're back. Let's try to put this into some kind of perspective as we talk about them being in a stage of a build. They have not been in a lot of deep valleys. We talk about the valleys they've been in. Zoe gets sick. They have the 1 year they get swept by Charlotte, 2001. Then they had like that 1 year where they brought in every old guy on a 1 year contract, like this Kendall Gills, Cedric Ceballos, Travis Best, Jimmy Jackson, all that. Then they draft Karan. They start to go back up again. Then they draft Dwayne. Then it's like, okay, now you have pieces. Then we're going to move the pieces for the big splash. Then they win the championship. It falls back again. Shaq doesn't care anymore. GP doesn't care anymore. Twan doesn't care anymore. None of them care anymore. They got their MF and rings, right? And then it's 06, 07. Then they get swept off the Luol Deng, right? Swept off the floor in 07, 08. Like you mentioned, the last time they went winless in preseason, and they win 15 games. Then they draft Bees. Then Dwayne has these 2 years in purgatory where they're not getting him any help because they're trying to hold, their cards back for 2010. Then we get the big three. They come out of the big three. LeBron leaves. So many reasons that happened, a lot of which you and I know that not really for public consumption. He leaves in 2000. Did any of that get in the book, by the way? No. Yes. No.
None of the not for public consumption did.
Right. Well, they're still not for public. People are going to read the book. That's public consumption, right? 2014, 2015, obviously 16. Bosch sick, kind of casts a pall over that. Otherwise, that team might have gotten the finals. That 15-16 team, I think, might have beaten LeBron's team. And then kind of they had that Dwayne tribute year, Last Dance, and then but not a whole lot during that period. And then Jimmy comes, and for all the complaints about it, they got to 2 finals, okay, during that period of time. So we're not talking about Sacramento Kings stuff, Charlotte Hornets stuff, or any of that kind of stuff. Where do you think they are right now? Like, do you think this is going to be an extended this 3 straight play-ins, right? Even though there's a finals appearance. Are you expecting them to be in the play-in the next couple of years also?
I think it's tough right now to say, like, they won't be. Like, it's tough right now based on what we've seen to this point, because we don't know how Norman Powell and Tyler Hero are going to play together. We just don't know because we haven't been able to see anything, and that's kind of important. And the challenge for this team, I know Tyler's been saying, he'll be back sooner than later, and that's great if it happens. I have no reason to doubt him. But once an NBA team starts the season, they don't practice anymore. And that's a problem here, I think. They really need some time. And when you look at the schedule for like the first, say, 6 weeks, there's not a whole lot of days where you can point to and say, okay, Eric can practice that day. Like these two guys haven't played together and they need to figure it out. These two need to figure it out together. They are, the early schedule is brutal. The first 8 or 10 games are super, super rough. I don't see them coming out flying just because they're not whole yet. And the opponents they're playing are pretty good to start the year. So I think it's going to be one of those years where they're swimming upstream because I think they're going to get off to a slow start. I do think there is potential. I don't think all hope is gone. You can't put them at top 4 in the East right now. So then they're in that mix of 5 or 6 teams for the 2 remaining guaranteed spots. And we all know how that's going to go. So the long answer to your question is right now it's tough to see them not in the play-in, but again, we've been surprised before.
Well, the average age of the roster is 26, and the rotation comes in around there too. They've only got 3 guys 30 or over on this team right now. So you've got Rozier, who obviously not here for long, and you've got Wiggins, who's 30, who may not be here for long. We'll see. And then we've got Norm, who it feels like they want to be here for long, and he's 32. But otherwise, you're talking about guys who are 21, 22, 25. Bam's 28. Larson's 24. Jaquez 24, 25. They've pivoted young. For people who say that they haven't picked a direction, they have. Okay, just because they got handed Norm on a silver platter for nothing doesn't mean that changed the direction. Who wasn't going to take him, particularly a team that was offensively challenged? They have picked a direction. I guess the question becomes: can this be an 03-04 where? As you look back in history, and I know for a lot of us, and again, you just started there, that was a fun team. Like there were no expectations. They were 0-7. Now Stan was his first time head coach pulling his hair out, and there were
love them at that point. Yes,
he had more, yeah, and so did I. And at the time, there were columns, Tim, that were written that was one of the worst teams in NBA history. I remember those first couple of weeks. They start 0-7, and then they went 42-33 the rest of the way.
42 and 33.
And then they end up in the second round of the playoffs. Beat New Orleans. Dwayne has 2-game wins. Right?
A shot in game 6 to send that back to Indy for game 7.
Stan took Dwayne off the court, Tim. So I don't know. Did that make the book?
Wasn't a great thing. I think I remember vividly that night. You and I sat around and said, 22 years from now, Stan will be calling games on a streaming service.
Yes, no, that's exactly what we said. That's
exactly what we said.
I'm going to get a DM from Stan tonight. But yeah, I mean look, Stan taking Dwayne off the court for Rafer Alston, who Rafer made some threes that year. As a vignette, did you I was assuming? Did you do the Mashburn shot as a vignette?
I did not.
Or the Mashburn non-shot. The non-shot.
But here's the problem with it. So the book is very photo-driven.
Yes.
And I had to match vignettes to available moments that were available to us for the book. So
there weren't a lot of Clarence Witherspoon photos out there anywhere?
There's a lot you could have gotten in that I didn't. The shot over Barron, that made it, obviously. It's and the challenge of it is we have 176 pages.
Yes.
With 38 years.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those moments are between 2011 and 2014. I'm not going to lie to you. So it got very, very tricky. You could write a billion books on this team, and that's the beauty of this team. It was fun. I enjoyed doing it. But when I got done with it, the only thing I was so critical with myself about when it was all over was, man, I wish I've gotten these 400 other things in. Right. The draft. Which I don't know how have we not called it this whole time?
I think we just coined it, actually, and I think just like it's going to get stolen, Reynolds, because I came up with Heatles and wrote it in a column, and LeBron was saying it in a press conference the next day and had hats out by the end of the week, and I was cooked. So if we're going to do the draft, we need to do the draft just like that. No, but there's so many moments, and again, that
03-04 I think might be a good parallel for this team. I don't think they're going to come out of the gate flying. They're not complete yet, and the schedule's brutal.
And there's no Dwayne.
One-
Although Dwayne wasn't Dwayne in 03-04 either. We got to be
No.
clear on that. And Dwayne had a lot of turnovers that season. He was playing an unfamiliar position, and really Lamar kind of carried them in stretches of that year. Lamar Odom did. But again, is this core? I guess that would be the question. Can this core do some? And Karan was hurt a lot of that year. Also, like Karan had the pop in the playoffs, but he was hurt a lot of that season. But can this core, can these guys who were not drafted in the top 10, okay? Dwayne was drafted 5th. Karan was drafted 10th, right? Lamar was, I think, drafted 4th when he was with the Clippers. This group, Ware was 15th. Hero was 13th. Bam was 14th. Jovic was 27th. Jaquez was 21st, 20. Even Casper is 20th, right? Do they have a young core that people can get as excited about? In other words, who's going to pop on this team? Is it Kalel?
No,
I think it's Nico too.
I think it's Nico. I'm super excited about Nico. Like I was going to try to be coy about it. And then the way you set up the question, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go all in. Like, I think this is the year where Nico becomes whatever it is he's going to become. I think a couple of summers with Serbia, and Spose talked about this too, like going over and watching him at Eurobasket, being on the Olympic team last summer. Like, I can't imagine what those Serbian practices are like, but Nikola Jokic is on that team, so I can't imagine a lot of happy joy going on. Like, imagine those practices are pretty brutal. I think there's just a different air about Nico this year, and it's gonna. We've seen this a million times, you and I. A guy gets the contract, gets the extension. He starts counting to 62 million, and he's like, "Wow, I'm good for life."
No,
I just have the weirdest feeling that's not going to be a thing with him. Like,
he's not his son. No,
I really think, and for as much as we're going to say a dirty word here, for as much as Jimmy gets dragged for.
Yeah, he did well with Nico. He did.
Jimmy was super with Nico.
He was.
And
he was.
I'm sure he's still in his ear. I'm sure he's still talking to him. I don't think Jimmy's going to be rooting for the Heat in too many games and vice versa. But I think Jimmy wants his guys to succeed. I think he's going to consider Nico one of his guys. And I think that's good for Nico. I think a K-Love in this locker room would have been pretty good for Nico as well. But this is his moment. And I'm not saying that Jaime's not capable of more. I'm not saying that Kalel's not capable of more. It's really tough to look at the preseason numbers and then see who he did it against.
Yeah.
Be like, all right, this is it. I do think that there's a role for Kalel. I just don't know. I don't know what it is yet. I'm not even sure Spo even is sure what it is. But to me, Nico, I mean, this is the question you and Brady have talked about it ad nauseum. Like, Nico's a starter. Like, and by the way, can I just say this for the record? I don't care who opens games. Like,
who closes it? Yeah,
it's who closes it. It's the last 5 minutes for me. Assuming that the last 5 minutes.
But do you think he'll earn that? Because I've said that there's a better chance of him starting, which I always felt he was going to do this year, than closing. Because I look at their closing lineup, and this is where it gets interesting. And to me, the best case scenario for them this season of anything is that Nikola Jovic is one of their 3 best players. Now, you tell me how he gets there, okay? Because I think Norm's going to be great, and I'd go over the 20 points on Norm, okay? They think I know you've talked to them. They think he's going to be an all-star this year, and I can see it, okay? But I think that as an
remember, it's going to be tough.
Yeah,
only 16 Americans are making that team. Remember, they're changing the format this year. So
I know it's going to be harder, but I think he's going to play at that level. I just, he's not going to have the gaudy rebound and assist numbers, but I think he's going to score. I think he'll be better defensively in this system than he's been in some systems recently. But to me, the best case scenario is we get to the end of this season and we're like, Nikola Jovic is one of their 3 best players. If that happens, and then next year Ware moves into that group or starts knocking on the door of that group, then they have something. Then not only do they have something for their own roster, but potentially if that player emerges, then they can part with one and still be able to bring in that guy. They'll have the guy to headline the trade. They haven't had the guy to headline the trade lately. When they made the trades before, again, they had Lamar and Karan to headline that trade for Shaq. They've had players to headline the trade. I mean, even it's funny now looking back at it, but they had Jay Rich was like considered a guy that they could kind of put in the trade. They ended up getting Jimmy. they don't. They haven't had that player without wanting to trade Tyler. And that's kind of the thing now is if they can get some of these young players, and they obviously we're not going to trade Bam, so that's the thing because everybody, as you know, wants to play with Bam, and so I think that's made it more challenging for them. But now if they can get a couple of these guys to pop, then it can be okay. We can part with this one, all right, and to get the guy who's going to get us there sooner. I just wonder when we talk about closing lineups, he's going to close with Bam, he's going to close with Tyler, he's going to close with Norm. He's going to close with Wiggins a lot. And I think he's going to close with Davion a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
okay. And so then who is Nico replacing in that group? I guess that becomes a question.
If they get to the place where we're going to go back to old school crazy NBA thinking of actually like offense, defense substitutions, and we need a rebound in this moment, who do you have? A skill that this team, that this franchise really has not had, in my estimation, other than Kyle Lowry, who's been great in the moments of who's going to be the guy to get the ball in bounds at the end of a game. They have not had anybody.
It's been a disaster. Yeah.
Shane Battier was phenomenal. Shane Battier was the best in the world at it. Kyle Lowry was really good at it, but you haven't had that guy for 10 years. And to me, that's a very important thing because Spo likes to drop these wonderful, elaborate lobs and things. Nico is big enough and strong enough to see over anybody.
Yeah.
He can put a ball anywhere. I wonder if that's the specific role, one of the many specific roles.
Needs to be more, though. I think what Heat fans are concerned about at the end of games is we're going to see, and no offense to any of these people, but we're going to see a lot of Wiggins. We're going to see a lot of Drew. We're going to see a lot of guys where it's not – I think this is a year that I think they're going to do this. I do. I think this is where it's heading. They need to put these guys, the guys who are going to be part of their future, need to be making the critical decisions in these spaces and being allowed to play through them. And I think it's a little different with Ware because I think Ware needs that push that Spo's giving him. What with Jovic at this point, just roll it out there and let him make mistakes. That's it. Because the upside is higher there. As much as I regard Drew Smith for his comeback, as much as Wiggins has proven himself, that's not where you're heading right now. Like you need guys like, again, Tyler and Bam have gone through it. You need guys like Jovic, eventually Ware, to be able to kind of go through it. All right, so I'm going to let you close here by talking about the book. But first, I know you said you expect a slow start. I do too. The schedule is brutal. It's really bad. I mean, they've road games, playoff teams, not going to have Tyler worked in. Then they're going to have to work him in afterwards, which is going to complicate things a little bit because obviously the ball's going to be in his hands a lot more, which you want, but then also it's going to stop a lot more. And if they're playing a certain style, he's going to have to fit into it.
And it's not just Norm. Remember, he hasn't played with Davion that much, hasn't played with Wiggs that much. I mean, this isn't – it's entirely new for Norm, but it's still pretty new with some of the other guys too.
Right. And also Spo's getting away from a lot of the pick and roll stuff, and so there's going to be complications there. There's a lot that's going to have to be kind of worked back in when he gets back. So I do expect a slow start. But I also think that they will be better equipped to kind of rally past it maybe than they've been in past years. Again, if he leans into some of the young guys. I have them anywhere between kind of 37 and 43. It kind of depends on my mood, depends on the day. I don't think the bottom is going to fall out, but I also don't see this as a team that, again, is going to get off to the kind of start that's going to put them on a course for 47 to 49 wins. Are you with me on that?
I'm with you on that. I think this is a year where in the East, where 52 might get you the 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
I think the pack is going to be so tight. Like, it's entirely possible that Cleveland wins 64 again. I don't think they will. I think they'll be very good. They're not going to be that good. I think Orlando is frighteningly good. And it's all there for them. Like, the coach is there. They have the superstar. They have the superstar running mate. Mm-hmm. They went out and got the help they need. Desmond Bain was such a sneaky good get for them. Like, it was like, Orlando's going to be really, really good. And you get them on the road on opening night to get things started. It's just because that's the way it works. I don't. The bottom won't fall out unless they want it to. I don't think they're anywhere near that. 37's way low. I think. I think they're right in that 42 and 40, weirdly parallel 2003, 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Kaz is not Dwayne. I get that, but it's kind of
Right.
like there's. I feel them 500-ish. I feel them playing better as the year goes on, and I don't think 42 and 40 will get to the 4 seed like it did in 2004. But I think there's going to be a real big push to either avoid the play-in entirely, and they're not going to go down. They're not going to go down that road.
No,
I think
they won't do that.
I think I can't remember what I picked. I wrote it like 3 weeks ago. I think I said 42 and 40. And I think that's fair right now, just because of the start, and they will have to at some point. But an Eric Spoelstra team, it always gets better as the year goes on. For whatever reason, the NBA loves to really backload the home schedule in the second half of the year. There's going to be that run of 10 in a row at some point, and they'll just start picking teams off. And again, health is everything. They need Andrew Wiggins to be healthy. Andrew Wiggins was hurt pretty much the entire time after the trade. Cass banged up. You can't lose Nico. There's a lot of guys that we're talking about. We haven't even mentioned Fontecchio in this yet. I do think he will have a role for them. But you need Tyler back sooner than later, and you can't lose Bam for any reason. You can't lose Bam for more than 5 minutes ever, because he's still the center of everything. No pun intended. He's the center of everything.
Well, the defense will fall apart. I think even those of us who have criticisms of the offensive consistency in terms of aggression recognize that. I can see 42. That would put them over what Vegas has them. Vegas has them at 37.5 to 38.5, depending on the book. And I think they have been downgraded a little bit too much because of what happened in that playoff series against Cleveland. But this is a better team. I think better players will have bigger roles this time around. And I also think that, Wiggins being more comfortable, even with the frustrations of his kind of, I don't know, it seems like he's not always engaged, but I feel like him being more comfortable will help. And Norm's just a really good basketball player. Like, I mean, if anybody who hasn't been watching the preseason, like, to me, even in the 0-6, he just scores so damn easy. And they just don't have a lot of guys like that. They haven't had a lot of guys like that. I'm just concerned about, on offense, the two things you need in the modern NBA is you need to be able to shoot the three at high volume consistently. They're super reliant on their two guards to do that. Powell and Hero are going to have to be great night after night after night. And you also need a guy who can break you down off the dribble and get you the conventional N1s and get to the line. And with Jimmy gone, they don't really have that. So that's why I think there are going to be pockets of the season where they struggle to score. And that's why I think Spo is a sneaky coach of the year candidate, because I think more is on him this time around to create a style. And we have found that sometimes when the cards are against him, we saw even in the 11-30 to 30-11, when he created the drive and kick thing with Waiters and Dragic, he's going to have to find something this time around that fits his personnel and frees his young personnel to play through the mistakes, but also have those flourishes where they start to gain confidence in themselves, whether, again, it's Ware, Jovic, Larson, or any of those other guys. All right, Tim, we appreciate it. I kept you way too long, as I knew I would. Tell me, well, I mean, the book's going to take longer than 43 minutes to read. Where do people find it?
It's everywhere. It's we had a little bit of delay in getting it super right, but it's finding its way now. Barnes, readypress.com. We're going to have at least one event down here with Books and Books. Readypress.com. Reedy Press is the publisher. They are buy it from them. It's wonderful. It's everywhere. Barnes bought a bunch. Target, Books A Million. The Miami Heat and Illustrated Timeline. And if everyone's if you Cash App Ethan, to go back to the plug, if you Cash App Ethan, he will sign a copy for you, which is weird because no one will want me to sign it, but I would like a signed Ethan copy, frankly.
Well, I mean, I have copies of my book back there, Raising Your Game. If you want to buy that, it's from 2013 at Innovative State. I wrote a political book when politics still mattered in this country. But Raising Your Game right there, 2013, did a long interview with Dwayne and LeBron for it.
That was 12 years ago.
Yeah, my daughter wasn't born.
12 years ago?
Yeah. My daughter wasn't born, and now she's 11, and it's a youth sports book. I don't know what the heck I was writing about youth sports. I didn't have a child. Now I do have a child who skates and plays basketball, plays soccer, all
Yeah,
this other
your
kind of stuff.
child's 30. Your child's 11 going on 30, as you know.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm gonna. She's
He's more
what
grown
she's
up than we are, quite
well,
frankly.
she's watching South Park right now, Tim. So I've I haven't
That's
fulfilled my
good
duty.
parenting.
I
Yes,
haven't
sir.
fulfilled my duties as a father. Tim,
No, you
appreciate
haven't.
it. Follow him. I don't know what I just watched in terms of this 6-7 stuff. I don't see if you have a middle schooler, you know what everything's going on there. All right. You again. Check out the book. There you go. Right, is that something like that? Check out the book. Check them out by Tim Reynolds. We'll have more episodes throughout the week. Again, Cash App, send me money. Secure 10 Prize Picks. We always tell you about that one. Use the code 5 FIVE 5. That's one fewer loss than the Dolphins have right now. And also check out 305 800 Pain. Have a good one, everybody.